What's up, Silent Flute? This is Chris. Quick video blog, Yoga Sutras lesson. I left you hanging at the last one, yoga. Chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga is the cessation of the fluctuations of the mind. And I'll read you a little quote here from Swami Satchidananda. The truth of the self is the same, but when presented to you through words and forms and modes, it may appear in different ways to suit the individual or the trend of the age. The truth may appear in different ways to suit you or the trend of the age. So the truth is truth objectively. However, the context of your living changes your interpretation of it. Like language, for example, the evolution of language. You try to express the truth to someone 2,000 years ago, they're not going to get it. You got to change it. Words distort the reality of it. So we're all the way back. Sutra 1-2. I'm not going to read the Sanskrit anymore because I'm not a Sanskrit scholar, so I don't want to sound super ignorant. I do my best, but I don't need to preach it to you. Essentially, what Sutra 1.3 and 1.4 are talking about is you either reside in the abode of the self or in the mind. You're one of the two. You're either attaching yourself, identifying with the observer or the mind. And it's referred to in different terminologies. I've presented to you the idea of Purusha and Prakriti. This is the Samkhya philosophical system. It's very, very ancient, from India. Purusha is the seer. Prakriti is everything around it. And to Purusha, to my consciousness, my body is outside of it. My body is an object in my field of consciousness. So my body is part of animate reality. It's part of what's called Maya. It's part of the material. Purusha is the seer. Or in Western philosophy, it's subject and object. I'm the subject. My body is an object to my subject, or the world around me is a subject to my, or is an object to my subject. Shiva Shakti, observer and the observed. So many different, the list can go on. Basically, you're either residing in the serenity and the bliss of the self, or you're entangled in the mind. And several things can entangle you in the mind. In the Sutra 1.5 talks about there's 5 things. There's correct knowledge, incorrect knowledge, sleep, delusion or argument or a misconception, and what's the 5th thing? Oh yeah, memory. So what stands out to me are 2 things, are sleep and right knowledge. It's obvious that wrong knowledge gets us entangled in things. It's obvious that sleep, or it's obvious that memory, sometimes we get so replaying the tape recorder over and over in our head of what happened, of what could have happened, of what we wanted to happen. And in a way, dreams are a memory. Even though we're projecting them to the future, we're piecemealing objects from our past and projecting it into a perceived future, but that's accessing memory. You can't have imagination without memory. They're 2 sides of the same coin. And obviously delusion, if you're arguing with yourself, I should do that, but I feel guilty about doing that. It's like, I need to do my homework, but I really want to do this thing. You're in your mind. You're 2 in your head. But this idea of right knowledge and sleep, the idea, until you attain, and I'm not there, I've glimpsed it, it's happened to me, but it's not like a consistent thing, where you sleep with such ease and serenity, there's no dreaming, and you wake up and it's sharp. It's almost as if you didn't sleep. It's like you wake up and you're ready to go. That's being in the seer. But most of the time, for me, waking up is a process of warming up the computer, turning it on. I have some rituals, things to kind of ease myself into the rigors of daily living. That's because sleep is an actual thought. It's the thought of no thought. Sleeping is turning off all other thoughts, but it's that thought of not thinking. And so that is a thought. That is mind. Sleep, the state of consciousness that is sleep, normal sleep, is still mind. And, with practice of kind of cleansing ourselves of these vritis, these churnings, these samskaras, which are just like unconscious habits of our mind. A thought process is that one thought leads to another thought consistently, leads to this kind of thought consistently. That's like a river flowing. And we got to kind of smooth out the landscape so that the water flows more spontaneously, and then we'll find that it tends to just kind of stand still. Which, rounding it back around to the Purusha Prakriti, which is the terminology that I prefer. I mean, Shiva Shakti's good. Subject to object, I'll use that one. That the object of the mind, which is an object in the field of consciousness, you're aware of the mind. If you go back to the Silent Flute 1.0, towards I think it's the last video posted on the first Silent Flute playlist, is observing the witness meditation. It's a guided meditation to access the witness. And when you access the witness, you start to observe that the mind is an object within your field of awareness. It's an external, your mind is external to you. And it's a trip when you experience that. Which is why right knowledge is also an entanglement. Because if you get wrapped up in what is correct, the answer, you know what 2 + 2 is, drop it. You know what 2 + 2 is, drop it. Okay, the mind knows. But if you get entangled in what's right, let's say in politics or whatever your ethical or moral or religious or philosophical stances are, that's mind. That's inhibiting identifying with the observer. You can only identify with one or the other. And it's appropriate to switch back and forth. The mind is part of your ego. It helps you function in the world. It solves problems, and we're faced with problems all the time. You need the mind. Otherwise, you just be, a lump on a log. But you need spirit too. You need that identification with the mirror that's behind. It's not, the mind is more a mirror of the seer. It's a reflection of the seer, but then it gets colored. It's like a colored mirror. It gets colored by your emotions. It gets colored by your conditioning, your beliefs. And so then what's reflected back, what the observer is seeing, is itself reflected in a colored mirror, in a colored way or distorted in some way. And as you clean out the mind, as you purify your desires, meaning that that the desires that come up are a pure desire is something that's like spontaneous. It's not habitual. It's totally in alignment with your own moral and ethical code. If you get a desire that's in conflict with that, then there's guilt or shame or something associated with that. So there's parts of the mind that are in conflict with other parts of the mind. So purifying simply means smoothing and aligning it out, so that there's the minimal, if possible, even negligent resistance, no friction. And that makes for a very peaceful existence in your own mind, in your own being. You find peace when the mind is in alignment with the seer. And so those are the 5 entanglements: right knowledge, wrong knowledge, delusion, argument, sleep, and memory. And that's Yoga Sutras 1.3 through 1.5. So that's it for today. And definitely, if you haven't, go back and watch Accessing the Witness. I'm about to come out with a very powerful meditation that will go even deeper, but it's like fractionating. The deeper you go is kind of a function of how many times you've done it, how many repetitions you've done. You learn a new yoga pose. You might even be flexible. You get deep into it. You do it every day, and it gets deeper and deeper. Even if you don't necessarily increase flexibility, sometimes I plateau. But the experience becomes deeper. You become more aware of certain muscles, ligaments, how you're breathing, where is your breath not going, where is there tension, what are you thinking about while you're doing this thing. The experience becomes deeper. So the experience of accessing the witness becomes deeper the more times you do it. And that first video, the last video on the first Silent Flute playlist, is a good taste. It's about 5 minutes. So go do it. Peace. Namaste.